Hey everyone, and welcome to our Evidence Mastery series. Today, we're going to dive into a massive shift happening in medicine, and we'll be doing it by looking at the very first chapter of a brand new guide. It's called Real-World Evidence, Principles and Practice by Dr. Masad Tusi. Let's get right into it.
So this book is a really comprehensive guide for anyone in pharma, regulation, or healthcare. And what we're going to do today is unpack its first chapter, What is Real-World Evidence? We're going to try and understand this major shift that is fundamentally changing how we make some of the most critical decisions in medicine.
So where does this whole story begin? Well, the book kicks things off by identifying a huge, fundamental change, a true paradigm shift in how we even think about what counts as medical evidence. For decades, the absolute gold standard for evidence has been the clinical trial. This highly controlled, almost sterile environment. But what healthcare is realizing is that that's just not enough anymore. We have to understand what happens out in the real world during routine, everyday patient care. And look, this isn't just some small adjustment. We're talking about a complete paradigm shift. Okay, so to really get our feet on the ground, the book points us to the official definition from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. They define real-world evidence, or RWE, as the clinical evidence we get from analyzing real-world data, or RWD. The really crucial idea here is turning all that raw information from day-to-day patient care into genuinely actionable insights. And this is not just a U.S. thing. The European Medicines Agency, they have a very similar definition. And this global alignment is a huge deal. It signals just how central this whole concept is becoming for regulators all over the world. So how does this transformation actually happen? Well, first, data is collected routinely, not for some specific study, but during a normal doctor's visit, from pharmacy claims, maybe even from your fitness tracker. Then, this raw data, coming from all these different sources, goes through some seriously rigorous analysis. And that is the key step. Raw data by itself isn't evidence. It's the raw material that becomes proof once it's analyzed the right way. Now, this naturally brings up a pretty big question. Does this new kind of evidence replace our old gold standard, the randomized controlled trial, or RCT? The book's answer on this is crystal clear, and it's an absolutely crucial one. It's not about replacement, it's a partnership. See, RCTs are designed to answer one big question: efficacy. Does a treatment work under perfect, ideal conditions? But RWE answers a different and just as vital question: effectiveness. Does that same exact treatment work in the messy reality of everyday healthcare for all sorts of different patients who might have other health issues or don't follow instructions perfectly? And you can really see the difference laid out here. An RCT often uses a very specific, homogeneous group of people. But RWE, on the other hand, pulls from a much more heterogeneous population, the kind of patients you'd actually see in a community clinic. Their regulatory roles are different too. An RCT is absolutely key for getting a drug's initial approval, while RWE is essential for what comes after, things like expanding its use or monitoring long-term safety. They really do answer different questions at different times. So you might be wondering, why now? Why is everyone from regulators to doctors suddenly talking about RWE? Well, it turns out there are several key forces all converging at once, making this the perfect moment for this shift. Just think about it. Patients today are way more complex, often with multiple health conditions. We also need to track safety over the long haul, which short trials just can't do. At the same time, insurance companies and healthcare systems are demanding proof of real-world value, not just results from a trial. And on top of all that, patients themselves want to know how a treatment is going to affect them, pushing for more patient-centered outcomes. All these pressures are pushing RWE right to the forefront. And believe me, this isn't just some abstract theory. It's having a massive impact. In a real landmark decision, the FDA approved a new use for a transplant drug, specifically for lung transplant patients, based entirely on evidence that came from a patient registry. This just goes to show you that high-quality RWE is now powerful enough to drive major regulatory decisions all by itself. All right, so all of this leads us to the final, and maybe the most important idea from this chapter: a whole new philosophy for how we should think about evidence itself. It's this concept called evidence pluralism. For years we've kind of ranked evidence in this really rigid pyramid, with RCTs sitting all alone at the very top. Evidence pluralism totally challenges that idea. It basically argues that the best evidence depends completely on the question you're trying to answer. The smartest decisions come from putting together many sources of evidence, not just defaulting to one supposedly best type. For so long, this was the ultimate gatekeeping question.
If the answer was no, the evidence was often just dismissed or at least seen as being way less important. It was a simple filter, sure, but it was also incredibly limiting.
But the crucial shift, the main takeaway from this whole new era, is to ask a much, much better question. Is this evidence fit for its purpose? This focuses on the quality, the relevance, and the rigor of the evidence itself, no matter what type it is. It's really about matching the right key to the right lock to get the best possible outcome for patients. So there you have it. That's our first look into this new world of evidence. This chapter lays a really powerful foundation, and it makes it perfectly clear that RWE is no longer just an option. It's absolutely essential for the future of medicine. Now, we've really only scratched the surface today, just covering the foundational what and why. To truly master these concepts and really learn the how, you can continue your journey with the full guide. Real-world evidence, principles, and practice is available right now on Amazon.com. Thanks so much for watching.